Hi folks, and welcome to the Woods and the Filmomic channel. And today I brought two knives I want to talk about because they are sort of culturally relevant, and there's a rather interesting story involved. And the first one is a knife I got from a corporation that is sort of, well, the guy owning the corporation has sort of a dubious reputation. Actually, personally, I cannot say anything bad against him, and I actually do like him and his family a lot, and I've never encountered anything bad concerning him. But in the knife making scene, well, there's a lot of loathing going on, but I don't want to judge this. All I can say is that we had a pretty good relationship, and well, he's a little bit of a slit ear, or is that how it's called in English? I don't know. But there's always a history involved, and so nothing. This is by Gamsjager Corporation, and this is a really, well, he claims it is made in Bavaria in Germany, and hand forged in Bavaria. I can take this with a grain of salt, and to be honest, I don't believe it, because it has an incredible value for money. This is a Damascus blade, and if you look at this, it's not high layer Damascus, and but it is cleanly made, and shows a nice pattern, and I don't know how hard it is, but it is hard enough to cut a stainless steel wire, so that's hard enough for me, and it's also really resilient. The handle is made from some Cebu buffalo horn, which is really, look at that amber hue that it has, and this is not it's a little bit controversial either too, because well, I don't know if this was sourced ethically, and this is another reason why I believe it might not have been made in the Bavarian region. And there is this lovely nickel silver, well, what's it called? So just sheet metal going around the handle to protect the horn. It is mounted with sort of rod seal or something, and really actually riveted to the scale, to the tang. A tang is a full tang, and it is as close to a really original, well, how you call this, a traveler's knife, which might have as well been the predecessor of the German Jagdnicker. And this is why I brought this, because it is really authentic, and it is made, and this is, I think it is made in India or Pakistan, or which actually is a good thing, because this is as close to the originals, because the way they are making these in Pakistan or India is far more close to the realistic method how they made it in Germany. Obviously, there are some pieces that are really astonishing quality, but not all of them. And a lot of utility tools like this were well, they were pre-mounted by a smith, and it was your business to complete it. The smith was responsible for offering decent quality in the steel and mounting the handle, but if you wanted some fancy shit going on, or a polished wooden handle, well, you had to polish your handle. You had to clean your knife anyway, so that was actually what was happening anyway. So this is relatively realistic in my book. It's not a bad quality. It's a modest quality. It works. The blade works, and well, I can only show you some. I didn't sharpen it, but it's really it really cuts great. It's a little bit thin in the handle, but it works pretty well. It's not something I would say that's absolutely, and look at that, it's not even really sharpened. You can see the light on the edge. No harm done with that. And I don't want to speak in favor of the corporation. I got my questions towards the corporation, because it would not be necessary to claim that this was made in the Bavarian Black Forest. It simply wouldn't be necessary. It's just something, well, why? It's perfectly okay that this comes from India. No one expects a knife that costs about 50 euros in the day to be handmade in the Bavarian regions. Why? So the thing is, this is from the general shape and layout. This is pretty close to what people would have carried and would have used every day. I will come back to that later, because it is also relatively close to another style of knife, which is a bit of a different topic. The sheath is really simple, and it just protects the blade from cutting you. It's and this is due to the fact that this was kept in a pouch in your trousers or in a bag in order to be used for everyday tasks like food prepping. I think food prepping was the main task of these knives, and eating, and you wouldn't have cutlery most of the time in guest houses along the road. So people were bringing their own cutlery and their own tableware, and why bring an extra knife if this is what you can also use for everyday tasks like cleaning the hooves of a horse, or cutting up meat and provisions, opening bags, or everything you could do with a knife. And so the other knife you've already seen. I couldn't help but bragging a little bit. Is this one, and this is really made after an original in the Volkskunde Museum in the Passara Valley in Southern Tyrolia in between, and that's controversial too, between Austria and Italy. This is a knife which has been associated with traveling people, traveling merchants that were that were the main trade methods in the days. In the region where I come from, there actually was a highway, and it actually was a highway. And I hope to be able to make a video soon to go on a little hike with you over a part of the said highway that is still preserved in original shape. And this was pretty rough terrain, and they were using two-wheeled carts, and I got an original wheel at the smithy. The wheels were up to that high in order to be better able to roll over obstacles and demanding terrain. And the carts only had two wheels in order to be more maneuverable, and it really was necessary, and must have been a tough lot too, and must have been a fascinating time. Not one I would have wanted to live in, but well, what they transported was iron ore, and steel wares, and they were going from the Sauerland region, Siegerland region, towards the Ruhr region, and vice versa. And they were transporting iron ore from the Siegerland, and vice versa. Coal from the Ruhr region when coal mining was invented, because coal mining was invented in the Ruhr region. And there's even a really intriguing local legend how it was discovered, and has to do something with dwarves. Obviously, we got a lot of dwarven legends over here, which is maybe something I can also make some videos about, because it's simply fascinating. And if you're a myth hunter, this is really rich soil where to forage for myth and legend. In the vicinity of the place where I'm standing now, you can find a lot of ingots and iron ore and slag heaps. They're called Zinnerhopen in my region, which translate to sinter heaps. And you maybe can see the familiarity between English and Nether German, because this is what it is. Nether German is closely related to Anglo-Saxon, and so if I would talk to you in Nether German, chances you might understand a lot of what I was saying. But that's not all there is. What I want to talk to you about is that in this region there is an outright legendary knife that was made over here, which was called the Brackersfelders Knopfmetz, and somehow this was used as a gift of honor by the Hansa, and we got several Hansa cities. Hansa, by the way, derives from the word Hansa, which is Old High German, Old Nether German for host. A Hansa is a host, And there's also a legend from the place where my grand-aunt and grand-uncle used to live, which I might tell you on another occasion, of the Wille Hanse, which means the wild host, but a little bit different to the wild host you might know from legend, from Norse legend, or from Germanic legend, or from Hirluin's Hunt or something, or Harlequin's Hunt or something, for another occasion, because it involves little smithing, blacksmithing legend too. But they made a knife of legendary quality. In fact, there was a lawsuit going on between a smith from the Siegerland region with a smith of Breckerfeld, the modern name, because the Siegerland smith found it in them to make a scam, to fake the seal of the Breckerfeld forest smithies. And given that the steel coming from the Siegerland region was legendary in itself, and they found it in them to fake the Breckerfeld seal in order to better sell it off, might hint of really awesome quality of knife. And the thing is, why do I tell this story? This is because they made a Brackersfelders Knopmetz, which is a name that is interesting in itself, because there is also the mentioning of a Brackersfelders Dechen, and Dechen is the same root as dagger. Dechen, dagger, which is more of a often it was actually single-edged, but there are also double-edged specimen, or half-edged with a back edge or something. But they were always sort of like Knopf means button or rondel. So you can translate the Brackersfelders Dechen as a dagger, and the Brackersfelders Knopfmetz as a rondel knife. And this was the difference between the Dechen and the Metz, because the Metz was, derives from, let's say, let's get to the Anglo-Saxon term Meoteseax. And in Germany we say das Maß, the measure. And measure is deriving from meotan, measuring. So Meotesax and Messer in German, and Metz is something you use to measure. And if you guys over there in America, you got a $quarter, and originally it was exactly that. You took $1 or a thaler in our region, which is, again, it is rather similar, and you took your knife and you cut it in half, and then you cut the half in half, and you get a $quarter. This was a little bit difficult sometimes. So, well, also you use the knife for measuring up the portions of something to eat, and some. This is why we say Messer or Metz. And this makes the Metz, the Messer, the knife, utility tool, as opposed to the Dächen, which is more of a weapon. And thing is, if you now think of a rondel knife, what does it do? And how did it look? Actually, I have handled one original, not from Breckefeld, but in the knife museum in Solingen, which doesn't necessarily come from Breckefeld. It's just a rondel knife. It has a broader blade with a disc pommel and sort of a bollock, handle thingy. Not like a cross piece, but more like on a dirk, and a Scottish dirk. And this is rather interesting because some Scottish dirks were actually made with German made blades, which is really fascinating. Not because German is better than anyone else, but because of the cultural exchange, because of the and actually this is a historical commonplace. Scottish mercenaries were serving in German armies and vice versa, and this is a historical commonplace. It's nothing new. It's just, but there was a cultural exchange, and the thing is, these knives were widely in use in these days too. So it is maybe they a little bit later on they came into being, while the shape might actually derive from medieval examples too, which in turn derived from Arabian and Persian influences too, but also from the seax, from broad seaxes, especially continental seaxes. And this is something. There are little finds of big knives with broken back tips or something in Germany. So we always get this leaf shape, or you get this something that had a bowing drop point, which was curving towards the tip, which was more in line with the edge, or the point was more in the middle. I am talking about Frankish broad saxes or lang saxes. By the way, there's also one find in the Thames, which might be an older piece, and so the shape might also derive from older knives like that. Certainly, the offset edge line, like on this, was invented to facilitate foot prep. If you look at that, you get a little bit more of freedom for your hand if you cut like that. And this one I forged from an old chisel I found in the woods. It's almost like a mantra for me, which was tempered after a recipe from, I think, 1782, which was some sort of housekeeper's handbook. And I spare you the details because it is not really appetizing. maybe I make a video about the book, and which I really find fascinating. I love these books, and have learned a lot of from them. By the way, not everything in there is bullshit. Actually, if there's a Grimorium of Pope Honorius or Albertus Magnus, volume issue 10,945.76, period 9, well, I got questions. But I got questions. I don't have answers. And so this is something well, as I said, stuff for another video. And you've seen in the other video, in the short, what it is capable of. And this is, well, I really do like the notion that people actually used knives like this, and to be honest, if you need, obviously it's not a modern bushcraft knife, but if you can adapt to the use of the knife, it doesn't have any drastic shortcomings. It works a cinch for a lot of things we do nowadays, and it's just not that it is a Puko, and a Puko is maybe superior in carving because you don't have that offset in the edge, so it's a little bit more dexterous. On the other hand, that's not a big issue either. You can carve with this all right, and it's got advantages in other applications. If we now return to the first knife, this one is pretty much in line with the morphology of the so-called Drudenmesser, which means the Drud was, well, in Christian society, the Drud became sort of an evil being, like a witch, but something more than a witch, who flew out at night to sit on your chest and simply press you with a weight. You could die from that and give you nightmares. The nightmare is something that's not just bad dreams, but this is a being. It is often depicted as a horse, like the Mary Lloyd in Wales. Hope I pronounced it right. My lovely woman will whack the shit out of me if I did it all wrong. And which is sort of ambiguous, because it's not just bad, it's not just evil, but in Germany, however, the Drud was something that was seen as evil, like the Drak, and it was an evil spirit, and you needed to ward off the evil spirit. And a lot of the so-called Drudenmesser, Drud knives, are following the morphology of this one. And if you look at the maker's mark, if you look at that, and apologies to Peter Pfaffinger if you watched the video. I know you once dropped by on the channel, and because this is something I simply can't afford your work, and this is the only knife I have to show, and this is plagiarism, because this was on the website of one Peter Pfaffinger, who makes awesome really awesome replicas of jute knives, of apotropaic knives, and has really great, and I put the link in a comment or a description down, because his website is well worth a visit, because it's just a treasure of knowledge. And but as I said, this is the only example I personally have to show, so please permit that I show this. This is a traditional sign which is called the Drudengattal, which means, well, how to, the Drut gate. Gutter gate. Maybe a little bit of a false friend, because a gutter is something else than a gate. It's more of a median between fence and a gate. And you use a gutter for fencing in sheep or something. And this was meant as a means to fence in or defend against the Druid. And this must have been a really, really big issue, because and from what I know about psychology, this might be due to well, really deep sorrow. And I know, because I got that feeling myself. And if you don't know how to pay your rent, you get this feeling in your chest. It's that's restricting you, and that's stressing you, and that clamps your heart. It's like a fist that clamps in your heart. Often used by politicians and other dipshits as a weapon for class warfare. But enough said. Not getting political here. It's just a fact, because they don't care about us. And it has been in these days too, that people got this sentiment, this feeling at night. They couldn't sleep at night because, well, maybe they were poor, maybe they just managed to make ends meet. And that were the medieval ages, by the way. Our times are not quite different to that. So maybe that's an explanation for a little bit heuristic to admit, but maybe that was an explanation for the feeling people got, and they transferred it to an outer being. Because if you transfer it to an outer being, or an outer entity, or an outer person, even, then you don't feel as helpless as you would if you had to realize, well, it's me. I got that feeling, and I need to change something again about that. And if you're faced with authorities, be it 1582 or 2025, same shit, same system, same shit going on. And that's a historian speaking. It's not something that's not a moral judgment. It's just a fact. Well, and you feel utterly helpless. You get depressed, and you can't even get out of bed. And then your family is utterly screwed, because you need to forage for extra food, because, well, maybe your wheat or rye or something was destroyed by hail or something, or your eggs didn't sell, or what have you. In the market, you couldn't put your things on the market or something, and tax was due, and well, just the same as with our society. It hasn't changed a bit. But you need you need to remain active. You need to counteract. You are in survival mode, and you need to survive. You need your family to survive. So you project that feeling onto a being that's all powerful and sinister and evil. And what you can do is you can pray, and hopefully God helps you, and there are magical implements to counteract that. And a lot of the knives we have an inscription on the blade, not all of them, but a lot of the Druid knives have an inscription on them, IHS, Jesus hominem salvator, Jesus, the savior of man, in Latin. And 9 stars, 9 moons, apotropaic signs like the Drudengattal. Where is it now? There is it now. Or pentagrams, or the inscription Sator arepo tenet opera rotas. How's it called? Seed man, seeder, someone who sows the seeds. Arepo keeps the work driving or rotating, or the seed provider, Arepo, keeps the wheels working, which is really fascinating, because if you write the words under each other, it reads Sator arepo tenut opera rotas in every imaginable direction. It's a little bit Kabbalistic. This was an inscription. Also, there was this reverse heart, and the inscription and a cross inside it, and the inscription Agla in it. Can't make out heads nor tails from it yet, but the Agla inscription was inscribed on implements and knives that were also stuck into the threshold in order to fend off lightning or storms. It was thrown into the storm in order to fend off the storm. And well, you American guys, some of you shoot at a hurricane in order to stop it. No judgment, by the way. That's not what I'm about. But this is an apotropaic thing too, because your gun is an apotropaion for you, and it helps you fend off the forces of evil in that sad storm. And this is nothing else like people in these days did with the Agla inscription on their knife. And they stuck their knives into the bedpost in order for the Jud to cut herself, and then she would flee. The apotropaic meaning of knives and steel and iron, sometimes it's mild iron. That needs to be pure iron with nothing else in it to fend off the Fae. Or to and sometimes it has to be really clean steel. Some knives were made from Zideric, aka meteorite iron, and steel too, because that had an apotropaic meaning. And some Zideric iron was used to fend off lightning, because you created something that was akin to lightning itself, and so you could had power over the lightning, because you had power over that what once was like lightning. And this is a really fascinating topic. And according to I think Antti Rantasalo, from as a book from the 1900s, I think, or 1890s, which is absolutely outdated. It's not it's that as a cultural, not as a cultural scientist's work, but just for ethnographic reasons in itself. You can quote it nowadays because it's also full of ideological nonsense. But what is quoted in that book, and so the quote is in itself valid, that in folk belief in Finland, you needed, if you found a pukko, and keep in mind the pukkot of these days were a little bit different than the pure and mere utility knives that we have nowadays, with no harm done. They are perfectly cool knives, and but you needed to find a pukko blade and maybe halved it yourself, or just take the blade and put it into your acre of land, your field, and in order to fend off Pellon Pekko, which was sort of an ambiguous being, because on one hand it was a sort of a goblin creature that could harm your crop. On the other hand, it also was a natural spirit, a nature spirit. So it wasn't meant as an offense. It was just, well, that is my field, and get the fuck out of here. You can go over there, and if there's no pukko, then you can have it. You can steal it, and sometimes I think, well, just thinking, another video, by the way, but just some food for thought. If the Hisi, which are reported in such a huge amount of stories, maybe were not just natural spirits or concepts or concepts of natural spirituality, but concrete beings. And I'm not saying that some alien race or goblins or something, maybe. Well, I know that we have finds from Russian permafrost caves where the bones of Neanderthals were preserved at a, not in that period, please don't quote me wrong, not in the medieval ages, not in early modern times, and they were, but they we thought they died out far longer ago than the finds indicate, because these are relatively young. Relatively, this is still the Stone Age. This is still not even Copper or Bronze Age. It's no evidence whatsoever of a later, but who knows? And it's a story. Enjoy the story. It's not that I claim that the Hisi were Neanderthals or Denisovans that somehow survived, or, but who knows? If you look at the depictions of trolls in Scandinavia, you find a lot of features that also apply to Neanderthals and Denisovans. At least the reconstructions we made from them. It's not necessarily that they looked exactly like we reconstructed them. That's something fascinating. And now I'm completely veered off path. What I wanted to say is that we had forces in nature that were, or in society, that we felt helpless against, and that we needed an apotropaion to fend off evil forces. And we must be careful. We must walk a middle road, and this is something that's really important. And this is not about knives. This is